C'est l'histoire d'un pari fou maintenant, celui de rallier Valence à Erevan en vélo couché entre le 21 juillet et le 1er octobre. Marc Brunet, entrepreneur de 57 ans, a parcouru plus de 6000 km de la France à l'Arménie. Un exploit sportif qui a aussi permis de collecter des fonds au profit d'une association.
À cette soirée organisée en son honneur en mairie, Marc Brunet ne pouvait pas s'y rendre sans son vélo. Un vélo symbole d'un engagement qui va bien au-delà de la performance sportive.
Je trouve extraordinaire qu'un Français 100% puisse se lancer dans une aventure pour récolter de l'argent pour l'Arménie. Ces fonds vont permettre à cette école d'être rénovée, c'est-à-dire qu'il y aura le chauffage, il y aura l'eau chaude, il y aura des travaux intérieurs importants qui seront faits.
Today I'm going to tell you the story of my journey, the story of a personal challenge, the story of a desire to share and to travel. Quite simply, the story of an adventure of life. It all started with a dream, the dream of a bicycle trip, and it became a reality in 2012. On July 21st, I left my wife, well, temporarily that is, my children and grandchildren, my house, my office, my goldfish, my TV, basically everything that tied me to my usual existence, in order to head off on two wheels and conquer the Caucasus. With mixed feelings nonetheless, sad to leave my family, but excited about the trip. I travelled through 12 countries, including Transnistria. Ever heard of Transnistria? Well, we'll come back to that. Just after Ingolstadt, a small traffic jam on the bike path due to construction and diverted traffic. You see, even on a bike, you can't escape them, but they don't last as long. From there, I arrived at the Austrian border, which I almost didn't see because I was attacked by a squadron of bees. I even had to abandon my bike at one point to escape them. This is one of the most beautiful stretches of the Eurovelo 6 trail that I travelled. Everything exudes serenity, far from stress and from hustle and bustle. A magnificent path along the water, down in the valley, surrounded by enchanted forests. On an adventure like this, I experience paradoxes. I am dependent on others and yet completely free at all times, both vulnerable, fragile even, but enriched by experiences and encounters. This is something I had never experienced before. Now it's 15 days since I left, 15 days of non-stop travel, 15 days of initiation, 15 days of discovery, 15 days of wonder, 15 days of happiness. And today will be the longest leg. 160 kilometers. Finally, I arrive in Vienna, the capital, proud to have made it, because I realize that I should be able to see this adventure through to the end. But if travel changes you on the inside, it also changes you on the outside. Case in point. This is also where communication problems started. Problems may be a bit exaggerated, but let's just say the language was getting harder to understand. That evening I arrived in Romania, the last country in the European Union. It was with a strange feeling that I crossed the border, harassed by 3 angry dogs. We've got a lot of preconceived notions about this country because of what we hear at home. But I'd also been told that it was a very welcoming land, and that proved to be the case that very evening. I'm about to make my first memorable encounter. I arrive in a small village and a crowd gathers, so I ask if someone can show me where I can pitch my tent. Immediately, a grandfather speaks up and invites me to his place. I follow him gladly. Adalbert shows me the way, and we arrive at his front gate. but he has trouble opening it because the grass is at least 80 centimeters high. I start to wonder if following him was such a good idea. But this is indeed his home, and he offers me a spot in the yard. Here's the restroom. There's no running water in the house. This retiree is doing his canning for the winter. He invites me into the kitchen and starts pulling food out of the fridge, setting it carefully on a dish towel of questionable cleanliness, which he had hurriedly thrown on the table. We try to communicate, but between the TV showing some cheesy Romanian variety show, the radio in the background commenting on a sports match, and our exchanges with his 10 words of English, it's a little tricky. I do manage to learn that he lives on €97 a month from his retirement as a driver, and that his wife passed away 18 years ago. He's had several fingers and toes amputated, but he's happy to be alive and can't do enough to please me and make me feel comfortable. A little later, he pulls out a bottle of spirits and gestures insistently at me to finish it. I figure I don't have much choice, so, following his mimed instructions, I drink straight out of the bottle. Luckily, I see there's only a little left at the bottom. You should have seen it. Quite a sight. Adult Bert lives a simple and peaceful life, and I'm asking myself questions about what we insist on having back home in order to live decently, always demanding more rights. On this trip, everything compels me to abandon the superficial in order to keep only the essential. I have to tell you a secret. I had basically zero experience in terms of bike trips before I left. Just a 2.5-day test a week beforehand. I was told I had courage and perseverance, but I think what you really need is a good dose of naivety and candor in order to embark on such an adventure. August 16th, Vatra Dornei. A turning point in my adventure. It's a restless night. I wake up at about 3 a.m. and have a hard time going back to sleep. I take advantage of the time to send some emails and texts and alert my wife I'm not feeling well. I think it's a digestive problem. A lot of thoughts cross my mind at this point. What if this is the end of my trip? What if I have to go to hospital? Who's going to call for help? I feel worse and worse, and in the morning I can't get up. I have no energy. I can't swallow a thing. I finally succeed in pushing myself to get my belongings together, but not very efficiently. I head out at about 10 a.m., and 2 hours later, I've only managed to go 10 kilometers. I stop to regroup and lie down on the sidewalk between two houses. I call my wife, then my doctor, a sports specialist, who gives me some advice on how to go on and encourages me. I don't know if it was making those phone calls or taking a break, but in any case, I head out with a bit more energy, tackling the 4-kilometer hill just ahead, which I hadn't been aware of. The day goes on and I advance at my own pace, taking lots of breaks. There are always moments of doubt, but if we have convictions and we know why we've committed ourselves to such and such a thing, these unnerving moments allow us to bounce back stronger than before. Ironically, today's struggle gives me the firm conviction that I will make it to the end of this trip, no matter what the circumstances, especially because of all the people who are counting on me. I look at my odometer, stunned. 110 kilometers traveled today, having eaten only a yogurt and 2 spoonfuls of honey since yesterday. The body sometimes has unsuspected resources. I quickly cross Moldavia, a small country, and come to a border. I think I'm at the gates of Ukraine. I tell my wife, who's been following me online with a spot tracker. But she tells me I'm still in Moldavia. I don't understand. I just crossed a border, changed currency, and filled out entry forms to a new country. Strange. I discovered the next day that I was in Transnistria, a country of 500,000 inhabitants, with its own army, currency, parliament, and borders, but invisible on world maps because it isn't recognized by any other nation. Nothing like a trip like this to revise one's geography. Welcome to Transnistria. And it's in this ghost country that I have one of the greatest encounters of my trip. It all started with losing my phone on the road. I retraced my steps right away to try to find it, but it's already disappeared. I hope it will be useful to someone. Then it starts to get dark, and a young man stops me by the side of the road. I explain my problem. He asks me where I'm going to sleep. I don't know yet. So he offers me a bed and invites me for dinner. I'm not about to turn this down. But he tells me to wait for him there and leaves me on the sidewalk in the dark, saying he'll be back in 45 minutes. Do I have a choice? Not really. Alex keeps his word and comes back with his wife and sister. They've bought a meal for me, which costs them a lot of money. They bring me to their nearby church so I can shower and eat. They have bought enough food for at least 3 people. And then I find myself at their home for the night. In the morning I see them doing something for a while with bits of paper. Then they come to me with their halting yet charming English, offering me a card. They've made me a personalized card just to thank me for staying with them. I have a hard time hiding my emotions. I'm the one who owes them so much. This couple exudes love for others, and I don't know how to thank them. I don't regret losing my phone, though my wife, who can no longer reach me, isn't of the same opinion. What are a few grams of technology compared to tons of love? A lesson in this world where we often favor possessions over relationships. After these adventures, I arrive in Odessa, the largest port in Ukraine. Since I'm ahead of schedule, I can't enter Russia before September 1st, the date of my visa, I decide to take a detour through Crimea. This coastal road reconciles me with Ukraine because of the breathtaking scenery, but it has to be earned. It starts with a stormy day, then I have to climb over 4,200 meters in 4 days. Magnificent scenery along this Ukrainian Riviera, which has since passed under the Russian regime. A little 30-foot crossing on the Azov Sea to reach the next country, and I finally arrive in Russia. I arrive in Sochi, which at this time was an open-air construction site in preparation for the Winter Olympics. Georgia is a really amazing country and gives the curious traveler the opportunity to travel through some very varied landscapes. Tbilisi, the capital, stretches over 30 kilometers along the Kura River. Before leaving it, I stop by the famous flea market where you can find unique and authentic objects from the Soviet era. I finally approach the Armenian border. Emotion starts to overwhelm me, and on September 21st at 6 p.m., 2 months to the day since I left, I experience this long-awaited moment. Incidentally, I learn a little later that 21st September is the country's Independence Day. The Armenians will be very proud of the day I entered their country. And it is with great happiness and uncontrollable tears of joy that I start pedaling in the very young Republic of Armenia. Then I continue on to the second official stage, the city of Ijevan. I'm eagerly awaited there because this city is twinned with Valence in France. As I stop to take a picture, I notice an old man up on a trail. I greet him from a distance. I'm getting ready to leave, but he calls out to me and comes towards me. He invites me to come drink something in his house. I accept, not so much because I'm thirsty, but for the encounter and adventure. And I won't be disappointed. His wife and a neighbour lady arrive a few moments later, and there they offer me almost a whole meal, right in the middle of the afternoon. Homemade butter, matsoon, the local yogurt, of which I ingest 500 grams a day, milk from their cows, fruit and vegetables from their garden, and even honey from their hives. What more could one ask for? The neighbour lady spontaneously sings me a song. She has a magnificent voice that echoes through these peaceful mountains, far from the noise of modern civilization. Then Robert, the grandpa, tells me he has to go fetch the cows. I offered to go with him. The 20 minutes anticipated to bring the herd back end up being more than 2 hours, and we come home by flashlight. After dinner at the neighbour's home, Robert takes me to a little house about 100 meters from his. Apparently there's no running water or toilet, but on the bed he offers me, worn by time and by the weight of all those who have slept on it, he kindly sets a fleece parka to use as a blanket so I don't get cold. It is in the most economically challenged countries that I experience this kind of hospitality and generosity. Could it be that comfortable living has turned us away from certain values and made us lose track of life's priorities? I finally arrive at the village of Chirakamout, where the school we're sponsoring in this humanitarian effort is located. This village was literally swallowed up in the earthquake of 1988 and rebuilt with whatever was on hand. A magnificent ceremony awaits me, prepared with love and passion by all the preschool students and their teachers. The bread and salt ceremony. A very simple secular tradition that's practiced when one really wants to honor a visitor. I'm touched. The local TV is there as well as the mayor and all the families. When the school principal was told a year ago that a Frenchman would be coming by bicycle to see them, she hadn't believed it. But today, the dream has become a reality. And so this adventure ends. For me, it marked the beginning of a somewhat different way in life, which includes more sharing, more awareness, and a reflection on my own life story. I have tried to push back the limits of my well-ordered existence, perhaps trying to find the carefree state of childhood, or activities I couldn't participate in when I was younger because I was so involved in my work. I had a dream and a mission, and they were accomplished, and that's the main thing. But somewhere deep down inside, I still feel that it's not quite finished. I'd like to continue this adventure someday, get back on that road that opened me up to the spirit of travel without constraints, the discovery of new cultures, to those countries at the other end of the world. I still get tears in my eyes when I think about all these encounters and the emotions I felt and shared. My view of people and the world will probably be different from now on. I'd like to keep that spontaneity and simplicity in relationships. But how is that possible when everyone is locked into habits, stressed by demanding schedules and professional obligations, conditioned often unconsciously, and myself included, by the media's views of the world and society's constant push for more? But more of what? Better living or more anxiety? Constraints or freedom? Material happiness or moral satisfaction? We need to be able to let go of our busy lives now and then and take stock of our existence. Let's learn to enjoy life and impromptu relationships with less selfishness and more sharing and solidarity. Let's learn to live again simply. Don't dream your life, live your dreams, and don't forget to share them, helping others to dream as well.